it really hasn't changed. We can talk about AI, but most companies, my company serves the medium-sized organizations. They
Okay.
typically don't have the money to invest in AI just yet because they're looking for an ROI around it.
Mm,
They need to be able to say, oh, if I spend this much money, I can
yeah.
get this much in savings. But we don't really have that story just yet. It's coming. We're starting to see it.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we're very excited to have our guest, Tiffany from TGR Management Consulting. And we'll be diving a bit into her story today, as well as what it is her company does and some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Tiffany, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Treg.
Excellent. If you don't mind, if you could just kindly, just maybe kick things off to introduce yourself and just tell us a quick, snippet of your story.
Sure. I'm Tiffany Rosik, founder and CEO of TGR Management Consulting. And I started this company in 2017, and it really came at it as an outcropping of a layoff. So I was working with another consulting
Oh
company.
wow.
I was laid off, and then I decided, as I'm going through the process, I decided I can do this on my own, and I wanted to take this next step, this next leap. And so over the last 8 years, I have been building my own consulting company. I have a small team, a great team around me today.
Excellent. Geez, what an interesting story. How you got to, how you got to, in this space. Tell me, if you maybe don't mind, let's elaborate a bit just on that. So, why did you specifically choose for this? Obviously this business sector when you started, and what is it that make you so passionate about
Sure. So my background is in large scale project and program management,
it?
at
Okay.
primarily on the IT side.
All right.
And over the course of my career, I built a reputation as being a rescue artist, and doing trailblazing in new efforts. So usually a company would come to me because they had a project that was out of control. Maybe it was years behind schedule, a couple million over budget, or they had a new effort that they've never done before. And I'd
Oh
have
yeah.
somebody come to my office and be like, "Hey, we've never done this before. We have no idea how this is going to go. Could be a complete disaster. What do you think? You want to do it?" And I, of course, would be like, "Yeah, that sounds like so much fun. Sign me up."
They're basically asking you, can you please fix it?
Yeah. And so that's how I really got started in this. And it became pretty clear as I ascended the corporate ladder that I was getting further and further away from the joy of the work that I really wanted to be doing. And so
Yeah.
when the opportunity presented itself, through this layoff, I said, how can I structure my own working situation to where I get to do what I love to do while still making some money around it? And
Excellent.
that's where we decided to I
And
started
that's how it
started
kicked
to start
off.
my own company.
My word. Tell me, based on your expertise, right? What are the current trends that you are currently aware of? What ways the wind blowing? What have you been noticing lately?
Yeah, so it really hasn't changed. I mean, we can talk about AI, but most companies, my company serves the medium-sized organizations. They
Okay.
typically don't have the money to invest in AI just yet because they're looking for an ROI around it.
Mm,
They need to be
mm,
able to say, oh, if I spend this much money, I can
yeah.
get this much in savings. But we don't really have that story just yet. It's coming. We're starting to see it, but it's
Mm,
not quite there yet for a lot of these medium-sized companies to reach out and grab. So the work that we're doing is really all the same work that we have been doing. It's where that technology meets operations that they're struggling to evolve and implement real change in a
mm.
transformative way for their organizations. And so that's where we'll get phone calls. Somebody will call us and say, "Hey, I'm implementing a new CRM, or I'm thinking about ripping out my CRM because it's super expensive and I don't think it's working for us."
Yeah.
And we'll come in and have that next conversation to say, okay, tell us about what's the day-to-day steps that you're doing to utilize this tool? And then we'll walk up, then we'll figure out a path forward from there.
Forward. And then from a market sentiment point of view, what have you been picking up, or what would you rather, what would you say is the market sentiment like?
Right now, the market is conservative. So 2024, we've seen a number of our clients either hold back on making a spend in the technology and operations space, or they've dabbled in making the spend. So if they had grand plans to do something, they now want to chunk it up and spend small dollars over a longer period of time rather than make the bigger investment and move forward more holistically.
Then tell me if you don't mind, I think it's maybe good that we just dive a bit deeper into what it is that your company does.
Sure. My company largely provides program and project management services coupled with business analyst services. So
Okay.
my team members wear a few different hats, and it's a unique skill set in the marketplace. Most companies struggle to hire for this type of role. So not only can we look at the big picture, but we also are skilled at driving down into that detail around how your company works, what the operations are, what the steps are, to then pull it back up and go, okay, you need to configure something this way.
Got it. Got it. You've actually mentioned a couple of things now already about the business when it comes to value, but what would you like say is the most significant value that your business bring to other businesses? If I don't know if you maybe want to mention like just a bit of a case study as well, that we can just understand fully.
Sure. Let's talk about IT operations.
Yeah.
Because we serve that medium-sized company, a
Yeah.
number of organizations may have a small IT staff. Maybe there's 3 or 4 people. They could have varying skill sets, and the company has grown to a point where they need to expand their skills. The folks on the ground may not have, while they may be good at desktop support, they may not be
Mm.
great at cyber.
Yeah.
They may not be able to evaluate their systems in a way that allows the company continue to grow. So they could have started out where there's a lot of hosted solutions that
Yeah.
were bootstrapped and put together, and now they need to find a way to either to transition into bigger solutions or continue to grow and scale this current solutions that they have, and they may not have the skill set to do that. So
Okay.
so in that, and so I'll give you a good example. We've had a number of organizations. I'll use this particular one. It was a healthcare organization, and they were going from 30 million annually in revenue, expected to hit 100 million in revenue. And they had 100 employees that were currently in staff, and then they had a number of employees that were part-time or contracted staff. But to get to that, 100 million in revenue, they were going to have
Yeah.
to expand to almost 300 employees total. So to go from 100 to 300 in a period of 12 to 18 months, and then expand across facilities as well. Again, this is a healthcare organization, and they
Yeah.
had 4 people in IT.
Jeez. Okay, I get it. I
Okay.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So how are those 4 people in IT who
Gonna,
are struggling to support those 100 people today, and then some number of contractors on
yeah.
site at various healthcare locations? How are those 4 people going to be able to support up to, you know 300
Yes.
or whatever the number was
To
they
that
needed to
level.
get to? So what we came in and did was we provided a couple things. One was we provided a fractional CISO, a security officer, who took a
Yeah.
look at their architecture and some of their policies and their practices to make sure that they were complying with HIPAA regulations.
All
From
right.
from that, they derived out several projects that needed to be completed. So then we provided them a project manager to help make sure that those projects were on course. The other thing that we helped them evaluate was their skill gap in that IT solution. And ultimately what we did is we help them arrange and negotiate with an outside vendor, a third-party IT vendor, to provide that tier 2 support. So you still kept your 4 people. They're still doing great work for the organization. But now we provided them options to escalate and pull more services from to support as they went through their daily activities.
I get it. You guys are the group that comes in when a company wants to scale and just do not have either the workforce or the infrastructure to be able to do so. Yeah, man, that's quite profound. I can understand why you guys are doing so well. Having said that, I think you're the right person to ask. What would you say are the reasons, like why, let's say, digital transformation, right? Why those projects usually, or a lot of the times, they fail, right? What would you say is the reasons why they fail?
Well, my answer is going to be a little bit controversial and probably hard to hear for some folks.
Throw
But truly,
straightforward.
it's at a leadership level. A lot of times the companies will embark on these, transformations, and I use air quotes there, with the best of intentions. But it oftentimes is the shiny object in an organization, and everyone's excited about it for a short period of time. Then the organization gets different priorities and it loses momentum. Resources get pulled, like people get pulled off of that project and are told to work on other things. So then that transformation never moves forward. So I look at it as it's most often a leadership problem. The organization didn't clearly communicate to the leadership, didn't clearly communicate to the rest of the organization how important this was. They didn't allocate the right resources to it. And that could be, in a couple different ways. Either they didn't really want to spend the money to put the resources on it, or they didn't want to free up the resources that they needed internally to work on it. And then the other one is that they didn't or want to support the time it was going to take to make the transformation.
Okay. Gotcha. I think there's a couple of founders here that's making some notes. Uh, the in your opinion, Tiffany, what type of mindset do you think is needed to be a successful founder of a company?
You have to be very comfortable failing fast. So we don't always have the right answers, right? But we need to move forward and do something. We have to take some kind of imperfect action. And it is probably not going to be successful, but you're going to take the action, you're going to learn from it, and you're going to take another action. And if you're not comfortable with that failure part and always having to readjust and take
Process.
new actions, it's going to be a long road.
Yeah. Gotcha. And then I'm thinking now, if you maybe give a pointer or two to, let's say, the young and up and coming founders, business entrepreneurs, if you don't mind, just to share maybe a couple, one or two or so of, like important things, that's because you've had an interesting journey. I mean, of things that you've learned in your career, maybe, up until now, just a couple that you don't mind sharing.
Sure. I've often tell people not to be afraid of taking the risk. What I find interesting about this younger generation of entrepreneurs that's coming along is that they're not afraid of taking risks. And I truly love that about them. But some of the things that I've learned, so if you can get past the risk part of this, one couple of the other things that I've learned along the way is make sure you have what I would call a board of directors around you. And these are folks that you trust professionally. Don't put family and friends on your board. They won't help you. They won't help you make the tough decisions.
But it's family.
Yeah, right? Family has different priorities and different objectives. Let me
No,
tell
I
you.
got you. I got you.
You know, but put a few folks on your board of directors. Again, I got my air quotes out, but that you can turn to and try to think about what their skills are and why you're putting them on your board. So for me, when I first started up, I was very fortunate. I had three people that consistently were pushing me to start my own company. They were always very positive. They're like, look, you can do this on your own. Do it on.
Yeah.
So so I would go to them. One of them was a gentleman who was great at business development, sales, contract structures. So he was on my board for those reasons. And whenever I had challenges or how do I do outreach, or how do I network my way in, I called him. I had another woman who was very good, long history of spinning up, starting new companies, and then selling them off. So she would
Okay.
start them, scale them, and then would turn around and sell them. So again, I was calling her for some scaling issues. How do I structure? What things do I think about? Do I hire? Do I contract? Where do I go? And then I had another woman on my that was on my board who is a whiz at operations. Again, getting to the nitty gritty about customer success, scaling over time. How do you structure your organization? How do you put processes in place that allow you to, as a founder, to be involved, but not so involved that you're distracting from growing your own business?
Yeah, that's so profound. That's
So
so
no,
profound.
so very early on, I had those three people that I was
Yeah.
able to pick up the phone, send a text message, take out for a cup of coffee, and talk through and help guide some of my early decision making around it.
Well, there you have it. Have the right people on your board. Now I get it. So I think there's a couple of family members that might get some news in the next couple of weeks, hopefully after Thanksgiving. So,
Yeah, don't bring
Tiff-
that up at the table.
yeah, yeah. Tiffany, where can the listeners, where can they get hold of you guys?
The best way to connect with me personally is through LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I have a lot of posting, and it is just Tiffany Rosik. That's the handle at LinkedIn. You can also find us at tgrmanagementconsulting.com. You'll have on our website, we have a full history of all of our success stories.
Yeah.
And you'll also find a way to contact me via email that way as well.
Excellent. Well, Tiffany, thanks for coming on. Thank you for this valuable insight you provided us with today. What an excellent story it is that you've got. All the best to you in your business, and may you only grow from strength to strength. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Treg. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Take care.